This is a true story of a prisoner so good at escaping, he simply walks out of jail not once, but multiple times. He made it a hobby to escape from various maximum security prisons without even digging tunnels or climbing walls. Let's find out how this brilliant escape artist did it, and I'm sure you will be surprised by his clever methods, and you will even be more surprised by his inspiration to escape many times, only to be imprisoned again. This is his amazing story. Stephen J. Russell was born on September 14, 1957 in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, USA. His life of crime began in the early 1990s. He used to be an executive in a food company, but everything changed when he was fired from his stable and good-paying job just because of his sexuality. When his co-workers and company found out that he was a homosexual, he was immediately fired. Perhaps this pushed him to do things that would leave a mark in the field of crime and prison breaks. In the early 1990s, one of Stephen J. Russell's first recorded crimes after he was fired from his job was that he pretended to be in an accident. He told his insurance firm and said that he slipped and got the injury because of that accident. This plan seemed impossible to work in the beginning, but it worked. He received the money from the insurance company, but just when he thought he fooled the company with his claims, he was wrong because he was investigated and found guilty, so he was arrested and imprisoned. He was sentenced to 6 months behind bars, but he had no intention of lingering and rotting in prison. And it was here that he first discovered his ability to escape from the most secure prisons. And what was his motivation that fueled his determination to break free? Love. He has no intention of not seeing his boyfriend for the rest of his life. No cell can prevent him from being with the love of his life. Stephen Russell had a boyfriend when he was caught in his first crime. His boyfriend's name is Jimmy Campbell. Unfortunately, Jimmy Campbell was seriously ill with AIDS at the time. That's why Stephen couldn't imagine leaving him alone for the rest of his time alive. So this served as Russell's motivation to escape from prison. Because of the desire to be with his lover, he immediately came up with a plan just 4 weeks into his imprisonment. While in jail, he found discarded clothes in the trash. He was also able to steal a walkie-talkie from one of the jail guards. It is not clear how he managed to hide all this, but when the time came, he began his first escape attempt. While no one was looking and the guards were busy with their tasks, he put on the clothes he got from the trash and attached the walkie-talkie to his chest. Even though his chest was beating so hard because of nervousness, his heart was beating stronger to see his love again. That's why he dared to walk among the guards and acted to look like one of them. With every step, his chest pounded more and more. Every step is closer and closer to his desired freedom and meeting his boyfriend again. It could be luck, a shortage of jail guards that time, or Stephen was just really a good actor because he succeeded on his first try. When he got out, he immediately went to his boyfriend Jimmy Campbell, and the two got back together. Unfortunately, there has been no cure for AIDS since then until now, so Jimmy finally succumbed due to the virus. But at least the two were together in Jimmy's last moments. Even though he lost his Jimmy, Stephen J. Russell continued with his life, the life of being a con artist. During this time, he fell in love with another man, Philip Morris, who would soon become his partner in crime. Because they wanted to live a luxurious life, Russell used his talents as an imposter or con artist to find a large source of income. And so he thought of entering the medical industry. Even though he knew that he had no knowledge and background in this, he applied as a CFO or Chief Financial Officer in a medical company called North American Medical Management. Because of his skills at being an imposter, he was immediately hired. He didn't seek to get a bigger salary or a higher position within the company, he just wanted to make money from the company through anomalous transactions. He also brought in his lover, Philip Morris, as accomplice to carry out his plans. And the two got a whopping $800,000 from the said company before they were caught and arrested by the police. Because of his history of running away, the court decided to increase his bail to $950,000 in addition to the prison sentence. This is very high for a case that does not involve violence. But as before, he had no plans to wait for his day of freedom or pay such a huge price. So here he came up with another masterful plan. While he was in jail, he called the county clerk at the Harris County Records Office. He pretended to be a judge on the phone and told the clerk that he had decided to lower the bail from $950,000 to just $45,000. And it was like magic that he convinced the clerk that he was a real judge, so the bail was lowered. And after he bailed out with the help of some friends, he wasted no time and immediately flew to Florida. But after just 1 week, Stephen Russel was arrested again. The police found his hiding place in West Palm Beach in Florida. Unfortunately, he was sentenced to a longer prison term. This time, he was given 45 years by the court to pay for his sins, while Philip Morris, his boyfriend, had a shorter jail time. We already know what Russel wants: to escape again and to be with Philip Morris. But Stephen Russel was not taken to an ordinary prison, but to a maximum security prison. This was done to him to prevent him from escaping again. But the authorities were wrong, because Stephen Russel has more tricks in his sleeves. The steps he took to break free from prison this time were strange. First, he collected many green markers he found in the prison. He kept them in his cell. He also got an extra inmate uniform. And these two simple things are what would get him out of prison. He knew that medical personnel can go in and out of the maximum security prison. Medical personnel regularly visit the prison to provide medical attention inside and wear green scrubs, which is why he thought of imitating them. He used the green markers to color the extra uniform he stole until it resembled the scrubs worn by the medical personnel, and then he casually walked without hesitation to the front gate of the prison towards freedom. The guards noticed that he was no longer in the cell when the head count was about to be taken. When he was reunited with Philip Morris, the two went into hiding in Biloxi, Mississippi. They were frequent in the casinos there to make money, but unfortunately, they were spotted by the U.S. Marshals and were immediately arrested again. As the saying goes, desperate times call for desperate measures. And this was exactly what Russel did in his last and most daring escape from prison. The words creative and extreme are not enough to describe his fourth and final escape from prison. Here, he will not only prove that he is one of the most gifted escape artists in America, but he is also one of the most daring prisoners in history. After being arrested, Stephen Russel was taken back to the maximum security prison in Texas and sentenced by the court to serve additional years due to his multiple prison escapes. His sentence has reached 45 years. And because of this, he thought deeply and carefully about his escape plan. Of the last 3 times he went out, he was still caught again wherever he would hide. He seemed to have no escape while he was still alive, as the police will always go after him. So it seems like a good idea that in his 4th attempt, he will pretend to be dead. And maybe no one will look for him anymore for the rest of his life. But for this to work, he needs good preparation and long hours. And not only that, he needs courage, determination, and maybe luck to accomplish this plan. The first part of his plan was to show symptoms of AIDS. He had to look weak, sick, and about to die. So the way he thought of was to take a lot of laxatives and not to eat for many days. After a few weeks, he was already pale and weak and walking like a zombie. And to confirm his condition, he used the typewriters in the prison to write his own fake medical record saying that he had symptoms of AIDS. It was reported in the medical record that he was HIV positive. Unsurprisingly, because he is an expert con artist, he convinced the staff at the maximum security prison and gave him special needs parole. Because of this, he was allowed to receive medical attention in an outside nursing home until he would die. While at this nursing home, the facility staff received a call from a scientist, supposedly, who would involve Russel in an experiment for studying AIDS. And the staff were convinced, so Russel was picked up by an unknown doctor towards freedom. And when he did manage to escape, he sent his fake documents containing his death certificates back to Texas Maximum Security Prison. This is to make his death official, and the authorities will no longer look for him anymore. Although some prison staff believed this was legit, some were unsure and a bit worried it is another con. But in the end, he was declared dead. He was again able to trick the system. While in hiding, he couldn't wait to be with Philip Morris, who was in another prison facility. He made a fake attorney's business card and called the precinct holding Morris. He pretended to be a judge and requested that Morris be transferred to a Dallas prison. He did this so he can visit him and would pretend as attorney Jean-Louis, a lawyer sent by the judge. When U.S. Marshals knew this, they set up an operation to arrest Russel in the Dallas prison where Morris will be transferred, but Stephen Russel did not show up, as he also knew that they were trying to arrest him. Russel has laid low from police for some time, but he seems to be really missing the thrill of being a thief. Being a con artist is in his blood, even though he has tasted the bitterness of prison life. On March 20th, 1998, Russel pretended to be a millionaire from Virginia so that he could get a loan from Nations Bank in Dallas. He planned to borrow $75,000. But unfortunately, the bank staff smelled his evil plan. The staff immediately called the police to arrest the suspected man. When the police came, he pretended to have a heart attack. And because of police protocol, suspects who need immediate medical attention must be taken to the hospital. And when Russel was hospitalized, he pretended to be an FBI agent and used a cell phone. He called the hospital and said that the man named Stephen J. Russel was clear to go, and he was released again. But it didn't last long either. On April 5th, 1998, he was arrested for the last time in Florida. He was sentenced for 144 years because of various crimes, escapes, and various scams. Since 2010, Stephen J. Russel is now incarcerated in the Polunsky Unit in Texas, a super-maximum security prison. He was subjected to intense solitary confinement. He is placed in a small cell alone for 23 hours, and only had 1 hour a day for recreational activities or to take a shower. Every time he leaves or enters his cell, he is stripped naked and every corner of his body is searched to prevent him from bringing unauthorized items in. He was reportedly taken to the Texas death row building inside the facility to be with other inmates charged with murder. Due to the condition of Stephen J. Russel, many human rights activists are questioning his treatment. It is said that this is not a fair act because his case is not related to being violent, and if you think about it, he won't even be able to be there for his release date set in July 12, 2140. I'm sure he won't make it to that day. Inside this prison is where Stephen J. Russel will rot and die. His life story was so unbelievable that it was featured in the movie I Love You, Philip Morris, starring Ewan McGregor and Jim Carrey, released in 2009.